For 1 week in February, this 2.5-mile superspeedway in Daytona Beach, Florida comes to life. Everyone wants to win this one. It's the Daytona 500, but first it's Speed Weeks and Practice 1 with commentary from MRN, the Motor Racing Network. Daytona Speed Weeks and the Great American Race live on JB Motorsports all week long.
Those temperatures very much escalated than what we had just days ago when we ran the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium in North Carolina.
It is night and day weather-wise from where we were racing the Clash to where we are here at the world's most famous beach. Yeah, practice is just beginning. It is the practice before tonight's run for the pole and locking in the front row for the Daytona 500, the 68th renewal of the Great American Race. So we expect single-car runs, mock qualifying here in practice. And Todd, as simple as that sounds to do from a team perspective, just how important and what are the things you're dealing with here on this practice?
Well, you look at it, and when you watch this racetrack, you look at 2.5 miles of asphalt here. The challenge is that I always figured when you were within 9 seconds of a car, you were getting a little bit of a draft from them. So your speed would show faster than it normally would be. And as you see this out, we've got more than 5 cars out here. A couple came out, rolled straight out just to get some race balance, but that's going to affect some of these guys trying to get clean runs.
Of course, tonight we'll be making the run for Daytona 500 qualifying. The front row will be locked in. 2 open cars will be locked in. And obviously you want to think about tomorrow night's dual races that will set the lineup for the Daytona 500. But you almost need to know how much speed your car has in single car runs, no?
Yeah, you do, and you want to see where it is. In this first run out here, you're just making sure your travels are good. You're going to get everything, the transaxle up to temperature. You're going to try to get to the point where maybe the 2 single-car runs you run at the end of this practice, when I say the end, the last 30 minutes of this practice, you're making sure that they have similar situations where the transaxle, the hubs are already warmed up, because those can affect hundredths of a second. And when you're trying to maybe get a data point on, is this faster than this, you want all of the extracurriculars to be constant so that you can work forward from it.
As we watch the opening couple of cars get their laps in, Chase Briscoe was at the top of the leaderboard his first trip around the 2.5-mile Daytona International Speedway. He has been bumped to the second spot. Denny Hamlin has just put his fast lap up, which was his second circuit around Daytona.
And that's one of those situations. Denny's actually getting a little bit of a draft, a little bit of a tow, we would call it, from the wake coming off that 22 car and actually making this piece. That's where it's really hard to look at these lap times and say who's got what speed, because you don't know who got what help as they were out there drafting.
Watching Carson Hocevar exit the NASCAR Cup Series garage. Also watching Brad Keselowski exit the NASCAR Cup Series garage. Brad broke his leg in the offseason, never got clearance until yesterday to come to Daytona, but he is aboard his Ford Mustang as everybody is waiting to get their lap to go around the World Center of Racing. Let's check in the garage. We mentioned Steve Post, Kyle Rickey covering actions there. Postman, paint the scene. What's going on in the garage right now?
Well, everyone just kind of watching right now. First day of school down here, so it's kind of neat to see everybody greeting each other and who's where and who's changed crew uniforms. We had Bowman Gray Stadium, but we're also buttoned up with jackets that I think everyone gets their first glimpse at each other in their crew suits, and really neat. It's, like I said, a first day of school down here. So what's going on as far as the teams go is at the front end of the garage area, the top point getters, Kyle Larson is no longer in his garage stall. Denny Hamlin is no longer in his garage stall. Now Chase Briscoe has brought his car in. You talked about him going out to make a mock qualifying lap. William Byron, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, and others still not in the garage area. Crew members just kind of milling around here. When we look at the top of the transporters, crew chiefs and engineers are atop the transporters with monitors, just keeping an eye on everything from their car, other cars on the racetrack, as you guys have documented, and even the flags, and to see what the weather is doing here over the course of this run, because as you guys have mentioned, this is all about tenths of seconds and thousandths of seconds, and that's what we're looking for. That's what the drivers are looking for. As some of the first cars are now coming back in, William Byron brings his car in. Here comes Kyle Larson, a reigning champ, bringing his Hendrick Cars Chevrolet back to the attention of Cliff Daniels and the crew down here in the garage stall.
That's Steve Post. Kyle Rickey's also in the NASCAR Cup Series garage. Kyle, what types of things are you watching?
Yeah, most of the cars here on the backside of the garage have also made their way onto the pit lane and out onto the racetrack. Just a couple of teams remain back here, including John Hunter Nemechek and Zane Smith. But as soon as the track opened up for practice a little bit ago, everybody got gone. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Daniel Suarez, Cole Custer, Ty Dillon, they have all made their way onto the racetrack. Also going to keep an eye on the open teams that are garaged back here. Drivers like Chandler Smith, Justin Allgaier, Anthony Alfredo. Speed a little bit more important to those teams here when it comes to qualifying later tonight, trying to lock themselves in to Sunday's Great American Race. But so far, most of the teams have gone onto the racetrack. Haven't seen anybody come back yet, as they still are either waiting or in the process of making their first runs of the morning.
Total of 8 teams that are considered to be open cars that will have to qualify in and or race their way into the Daytona 500. Kyle mentions Chandler Smith, also Justin Allgaier for Junior Motorsports on that list, J.J. Yaley for New York Racing, Anthony Alfredo for Beard Motorsports, Casey Mears driving for Carl Long in Garage 66, Corey Heim is going to be driving a 2311 Toyota. He's an open car, along with B.J. McLeod and Corey LaJoy. Corey LaJoy driving a RFK Racing number 99 entry here for Speed Weeks 2026. And Jimmy Johnson is also going to attempt to make the Great American Race. He has opted for the open exemption provisional that expands the field to 41 cars, and Jimmy Johnson will be guaranteed a starting spot in Sunday's Daytona 500.
We're early on in practice from Daytona International Speedway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You've never been one to idly watch someone else do something for you. There's pride in self-reliance, in working with your hands, in harnessing the power of an E3 spark plug with Diamond Fire technology, yielding better engine performance. You have a choice to make. Take control of your ride, of your life, or be the passenger princess of it. Visit e3sparkplugs.com to put the power in your hands.
Voice of NASCAR.
The green flag is in the air, and we are underway. The Great American Race.
The Motor Racing Network. NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Craftsman Truck Series Racing live on your hometown radio station and MRN or NASCAR.com. Martinsville, Talladega, the Chicago Street Course. We have the side-by-side action and last lap passes for the win.
Photo finishes, Ryan. We welcome you back to the World Center of Racing on an overcast day here. The sun is trying to peek through this morning here on a Wednesday morning in Daytona Beach, Florida, as the NASCAR Cup Series practice rolls on. Qualifying later on tonight, and coverage on MRN is presented by E3 Spark Plugs. Stuck in slow motion? Unleash the NASCAR fire inside your engine with E3 Spark Plugs. Forget pit stops too. E3 gives you maximum fuel efficiency for more miles on the road and less time at the pump. E3 Spark Plugs. Power, speed, domination. Get yours today.
Well, while most teams are using this as a single car run effort, there is a bit of a draft that has shaped up between Daniel Suarez, Ross Chastain, and Austin Cindric, and that has skewed the numbers just a tad. Ross has left that draft. Now it's just Daniel and Austin, but that takes Austin, Ross, and Daniel spots 1, 2, and 3 atop the leaderboard. Corey Heim is 4th, Eric Jones is 5th, Connor Zillage, who'll be making his first Daytona 500 appearance. He's 6th, with Carson Hocevar 7th, Kyle Larson 8th, William Byron is 9th, and Chase Elliott is 10th.
Watching Carson Hocevar, he's making the left-hand turn to go back into the Cup Series garage right now, but Todd, he came off turn 4 slow, got down to what we call the skid pad, the paved spot from the racing line all the way down to driver's left to the big safer barrier down there, and he was aggressively weaving his car left and right.
Yeah, I don't know if that's scuffing tires or whether that's they may have started low on fuel to understand how far they can pull this thing down. there might be something different, trying to realize where the fuel switch is with the fuel pumps. NASCAR's made it harder for these teams to understand. This was before last season, but to have that opportunity to put the lift pumps at different levels so that they could have an indication when they're getting low. Maybe they intentionally ran it out of fuel to kind of understand where they're going to be. I don't know.
Austin Cindric just tested pit road entrance. He rode the car down hard to the yellow line and then slid into his pit box, stopped, and now has made his way back out onto the racetrack.
And I've seen several cars. This is one of those things in this practice. At the end of your run, I've seen several cars come and make a run down pit road. This is an opportunity to see where your lights are set, to see what it looks like. And NASCAR puts this out for all these crew chiefs to see the timing in every section as they work through this, just so they can make that a little bit better for tomorrow night's race. Because that'll probably be a fuel-only stop, and one where you want to pass cars on pit road.
Austin Cindric is the fastest here in practice so far. Now, we'll put an asterisk beside that because he was the last car in a 3-car draft a couple of laps back. So Austin Cindric is the quickest, and the other 2 cars that were in that draft are 2nd and 3rd on the leaderboard, and Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez.
Yeah, Daniel Suarez was out front. Ross Chastain was 2nd, and Austin was kind of catching Ross as Ross was catching Daniel. The 3 of them kind of accordioning together, ran a lap together like there, and then Ross peeled out of it and separated out. So still trying to figure out what your race balance is. Like I said, this is a good opportunity to just get heat in all the components, and then maybe you can come back and run 2 single-car runs to identify which one's faster.
Watching Corey Heim on the racetrack. He is running a 4th 2311 Toyota here in 2026's Daytona 500. Got the press release. He has been one of the biggest question marks of the offseason. If you remember last year, he won the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Championship and 12 races to boot. Well, he's not in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series anymore in a full-time capacity. He has a dozen races that he'll race for 2311 in the Cup Series and will part-time schedule other appearances. He may be in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. He may make a couple of starts in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, but that is a driver right there that is waiting to see basically what his full-time future entails. But he does have a dozen races that he will race for 2311 this year.
Both Daytonas he'll run, well, trying to run the Daytona 500, but both Daytonas he'll run Kansas Speedway, Texas Motor Speedway. He's going to try to attempt both Charlotte races, including the Coke 600, Nashville Super Speedway. He'll go out to Coronado-based San Diego, Chicagoland, the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis, and Homestead Miami Speedway, along with the Southern 500. Valuable experience. Yes, he's run a truck at a lot of these different tracks already, but driving a truck and driving a NASCAR Cup Series car, not just the level of competition, but the machine itself is different.
Completely different, and different tendencies. That truck has that, there's a lot of side force in these trucks. There's a lot of big spoiler on it. You lean on that. This is a totally different feel of the aero tendency of this car and what you have for feedback for it. Good for him to get that many races as he works forward in this, into working forward. I think he will be a Cup driver and a very successful one in the near future.
Right now, 2311 on the racetrack is 4th for Corey Heim. You've got Tyler Reddick, that's 9th. Bubba Wallace is 22nd. And Riley Herbst, who is 25th of the 29 cars that have taken time so far. To the garage and Steve Post.
First driver that's wrapped up the long, arduous day here is Carson Hocevar. Carson, what'd you learn about your race car out there?
I think they learned more than me, like on the engineering side. I think they're pretty happy with the pace and like what they saw for qualifying speed. So, yeah, they're going to work on it and get it ready for tech and get ready for qualifying. But they were happy with it, or exceeded their expectations of guests of speed, which is always a good sign.
You were a little slow off from 4 down on the skid pad. Was there an issue, or was that taking care of the car? What was the story with that?
Just trying stuff for qualifying. Like, you want to keep it as, you want to slow down as much as possible and, get temp and, be ready. So, yeah, just trying stuff for, qualifying if we make round 2 there. Just, get there, but no issue. Ready to go.
Ready to go. And, yeah, he mentions round 2. A lot of times you go out and do your one lap, but you got to come back and do it again. That's Carson Hocevar. It is a bright blue and white color scheme, a little yellow trim spectrum on the side of it, here for Carson Hocevar with Aspire Motorsports Chevrolet.
And he talks about that, just slowing down. You do. With round 2 coming forward, you want to find ways to slow the car down without using the brake pedal, without getting the pads all engaged to it. You'll still have to finally stop on them, but just trying to find all the little details that the drivers focus on.
Austin Cindric, still the fastest, although he was in a bit of a draft early on. Cindric, Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez, your top 3 to this point. From Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
NASCAR fans, iRacing Studios brings you NASCAR 25. Race hundreds of the biggest stars of the sport on top tracks from Daytona to Sonoma. Start your career in the ARCA Menard Series and work your way up to Cup while managing team members, sponsors, and more. Or compete online with NASCAR fans around the world. NASCAR 25, available on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Head to NASCAR25.com to buy now.
The thrills of NASCAR racing from over 55 years of Motor Racing Network broadcasts.
Bobby Allison brings the race car right down in the middle of the track, crosses the start-finish line, and he will win the 24th annual Daytona 500.
Bill Elliott wins the Hooters 500. Alan Kulwicki, 1992 champion.
MRN Classic Races.
And in the whole pack, steaming for the finish line, Dale Earnhardt wins a Winston 500.
Find all the classic moments on MRN Classic Races on any podcast platform.
We welcome you back to Daytona International Speedway. Practice ongoing on what will be a full day here at the World Center of Racing.
When we wrap up at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we're going to make our way into the Daytona 500 Club. It's going to be Daytona 500 Media Day at 11:45 Eastern this morning. Motor Racing Network will fire up the web stream, and you can hear from every driver that's locked into the 500, also every driver that's trying to race their way in to the Daytona 500. That's going to go to about 7 o'clock tonight, and then we will be back at 8 Eastern tonight, where everybody will get a lap to make the 500. They're going to qualify everybody. Everybody will take one lap. The top 10 will be reset. Those top 10 will take another lap, and then we'll lock in the top 2, and that'll be the front row for the Daytona 500. But in an adjustment to the qualifying format, we're also locking in 2 other cars as well.
Those open cars that you named a little earlier today, those 2 cars, the fastest of those 2 after qualifying tonight, will be locked into the Daytona 500. It's a little different this year than years gone by. Yes, everybody will still run in the dual races tomorrow evening here at Daytona. The caveat is the 2 open cars, the fastest 2 tonight, don't have to race their way in tomorrow night. They're already going to be in the Daytona 500. They'll just simply race tomorrow night to figure out where they'll start the Daytona 500. And then tomorrow night, it'll be about the other remaining open cars. Who will be the highest finisher from race 1, the highest finisher from race 2 will make the Great American Race.
So many storylines coming into the stock car portion of Speed Weeks 2026. We talk about Kyle Larson. His title defense begins this weekend. Well, what about the driver that's going for his 3rd consecutive win in the Daytona 500? Nobody else has done it. No other organization or team has won 3 consecutive Daytona 500s, and we are speaking of a driver and a team called William Byron and Hendrick Motorsports. Steve Post? Steve Post, obviously.
William down here debriefing, talking to some other folks down here. We'll see if we can catch a word with him here in just a moment as he has done for the day. And, you know, their strategy throughout the course of Speed Week the last couple of years has been keep it really simple. Keep it really, really light on laps. Don't put yourself in any risk. The conventional wisdom down here is the crew chiefs know what we have. These cars, we've had these cars for a number of years now. They know what they have here for today, and they know how they can transfer that until tomorrow, so they know exactly what they're doing. So we'll catch a word with William down here as he is wrapped up that conversation, and William Byron down here. William, you guys have really taken a slow approach as far as practice goes here at Daytona. How was your race car, and is that kind of the same approach here today? A few laps and make sure you're just buttoned up, good to go.
Yeah, kind of, can only run so many laps, I feel like, so just trying to get the car ready for qualifying, and it was really the car's pretty set up, committed for Q-Trim, so just try to have a good run there tonight. Hopefully do my job there with all the shifting and everything like that, and like I said to Larry, I'm just excited to get back racing, and looking forward to the duel and everything because it's just been it feels like a drag to get here this year. So just looking forward to racing.
You're a two-time winner of the Daytona 500. Are you a guy that's thinking about maybe becoming the only three-time winner consecutively? Are stats and numbers and accolades like that something you're conscious of as you come into a big one like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's the goal, right? The goal for this week is to try to get that third win, but there's a lot that needs to happen from now until then. So just try to do every day the best we can and make good decisions, each day so we can be in that position on Sunday. But long time from now till then, so just got to do our jobs there.
Take care of your stuff, that's for sure. That's William Byron down here, actually doing a meet and greet now. Malcolm Stewart, the motocross racer, is down here with William Byron, kind of hanging out down here, and he referenced Larry in that conversation. He was chatting with former crew chief Larry McReynolds and talking about some of the same things we had there with William Byron. So looks like all is well here in Team William Byron land in Hendrick Motorsports.
He is one everybody's keeping a close eye on for the entire week, William Byron. Qualifying used to be for Daytona 500 a Hendrick Motorsports affair. They're the only team in history to start first, second, third, and fourth in the Daytona 500, sweeping the front row multiple times, but they haven't won the pole here for the last 3 years, so the tide has shifted just a bit.
Why is it that they seem to have given up their aspirations for going for the front row? Not saying they've given up, but obviously they're winning races without having to ace Wednesdays here at Daytona.
Yeah, and I feel like especially here at Daytona, that cars that win poles don't race as well as cars that are maybe tuned just a little bit back. And I feel like Hendrick Motorsports made a change in their philosophy of how they approach this place, and they've been really, really strong come race time, not winning poles, but being competitive, but then working forward. The other piece is I do feel like the Ford body put itself in a good position, although we saw a Toyota win a pole here last year.
The last time the Daytona 500 was won from the pole was 26 years ago, in the year 2000. Dale Jarrett did that. To put that in more context, current NASCAR Cup Series drivers Ty Gibbs, Corey Heim, Carson Hocevar, Todd Gilliland, Chandler Smith, and Connor Zilisch were not even born the last time the Daytona 500 was won from the pole.
We talk about new bodies and new body styles. Mark Rushbrook of Ford announced that this time next year we will be having a new Ford Mustang on the racetrack. But this year, Chevy has come to Daytona with a new, I don't want to call it a new car or a new body, but there are subtle differences with their race cars this year that the teams are like, well, we're going to have to get adjusted to this, get adjusted to that. It's not a wide sweeping change, but there have been adjustments to the Chevrolets as well.
Yeah, and I would say it's wide sweeping.
Really? Why?
You wouldn't from the outside, but there are things that happen within this. There's some, we see subtle changes, but those subtle changes make big differences. How the air comes out of the hood, how that exit area is, that impacts how that air kind of works around the car. Something that I think Chevrolet saw both Toyota and Ford in their updates kind of work in a direction, and there was something to that. So I think this is a new body. It still looks like the Camaro, and it is the Chevrolet Camaro. They brought that name back for this year, as we talked to just being a Chevrolet last year, but it is a new box. It's a redefined box, and subtle differences can make significant changes on these cars. If you go back in the archives of Crew Call, we had a good conversation with Chad Canal, Steve Post and I did, about kind of the evolution of bringing the new body on board and working forward with it. We'll see what they've got down here, whether they've moved themselves in the drag box a little bit and see how competitive they are qualifying time.
And, of course, Todd speaks of Crew Call. Todd Gordon, Steve Post has Crew Call every Wednesdays, MRN.com, and wherever you download your favorite podcast, and on YouTube as well. Somebody's coming in way hot onto pit road right now, locking down the brakes and trying to get down to pit road speed. That would be one Chandler Smith, who had to lock her down pretty hard, and he did. However, you're starting to test some of those boundaries now of trying to get onto pit road so you don't get a pit road speeding penalty.
That's why it's practice. No penalty when you do that here in practice. Daniel Suarez currently is third fastest on the leaderboard, and he's with Kyle Rickey.
Making a run with Spire Motorsports here this season for Daniel Suarez, chatting with some folks here in the garage. We'll get a word with him in just a moment. Third right now on the leaderboard, Daniel, as you just got done your first run here of the day, and looks might be the only run out in the draft.
Well, I didn't really draft. I didn't rough. Somebody pushed me a little bit in the back, but it wasn't really a draft session for us. We're just trying some different stuff, but overall very, very happy with the car. The car is smooth. It feels good. It feels fast. The brakes feel amazing. The guys have everything that we have planning to do, we have done it, which that for me is very promising, execute our plans. That's the first step. So super happy with this group. Really looking forward to continue to build on top of this.
How has the transition gone to this group, Spire Motorsports team, now with a full weekend of racing under your belt last week?
Yeah, I mean, really, the whole work started back in October, November. Just getting to know everyone, getting to know the structure, the processes. It was a busy off season, but I couldn't be happier. I have an amazing group of guys, amazing leadership in the team, great sponsor already came on board with us, very strong once again, and just super blessed to be here. I feel like this team has tremendous potential, and hopefully we can show that on track.
All right, well, good luck on track later tonight in qualifying.
Thank you.
Daniel Suarez right now currently in the top 5 on the leaderboard.
2026 is Daniel's 10th year of racing in the NASCAR Cup Series, and this is the 5th team that he has raced for. He spent 2 with Joe Gibbs Racing, 1 with Stewart Haas, 1 with the Gaunt Brothers, 5 with Trackhouse, and now comes to Spire Motorsports. He finished 4th in the Cookout Clash last week at Bowman Gray Stadium. From Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Finding your next car should be simple, except it's hard to know if you're getting a fair price. Car Gurus is the only site in the UK that gives every eligible car a deal rating, from great to overpriced. By comparing similar cars based on price, mileage, features, and condition, Car Gurus helps you spot the best deals so you can buy with confidence. Go to cargurus.co.uk for complete vehicle details without any surprises. That's cargurus.co.uk. cargurus.co.uk. Car Gurus. Search, buy, sell, sorted.
Withstanding the most unforgiving and grueling track is not just a point of pride, but of pure grit and determination. This battle can only be felt in person. Witness the action unfold at the only place in Florida where the biggest names will battle it out under the lights. Daytona Supercross is built different. It's built for champions. It's built for fans. The gate drops Saturday, February 28th. There's only one place to be. Secure your tickets and trackside access at
Welcome back to Daytona. NASCAR Cup Series practice for the Daytona 500 continues. Folks, a reminder for you don't want to miss out on this. Grab your Daytona 50/50 tickets now at Daytona5050.com. Support VetTix and go for a $100,000 guaranteed jackpot. You must be over 18 and in Florida at the time of purchase. To the garage at Steve Post.
Well, there's 45 cars entered for the Daytona 500. I think we've had 42 of them on the racetrack so far. One that's not been on the racetrack is Michael McDowell. His crew chief Travis Peterson is down here, and no sense of urgency to get on the racetrack. The decision or not getting laps here in this practice session, Travis, just kind of walk us through how we're here.
Yeah, more or less. We didn't do this last year either. You don't get a really good read on your actual qualifying pace to go work off of out there just because the nature of the practice, where you actually line up on pit road, it's not exactly a true copy, so you don't really get to see where you stack up. And we feel like by the time you go on track and scuff your car up and all that, it doesn't do anything positive for us. So it's really just a shakedown run to make sure nothing goes wrong. And I believe that our people and our processes are fine and that we can do it without it. And we're really just practicing tech right now.
You guys have been so good at Front Row Motorsports. You were on the pole all the time. How have you been able to, and how is that adapting to the Chevrolets here at Spire Motorsports as you enter your second season?
Yeah, when we got to Spire after sitting on pretty much every pole but the 500 that year, we had high hopes that we were going to be able to turn it around, and we did make incremental gains. It just took us all the way till Talladega 2 to actually get back there. So it took us a little bit on the new Chevy and just, implementing all the same processes in. And, this year I think we're in a way better spot. I have a lot more confidence that we hopefully did at least what we think is right, and I think it's going to come down to how much other people, figured out after that, in the offseason.
How is the new body? What's your expectation of what the challenges of the new Chevy Camaro?
Yeah, I'm optimistic about it. You don't usually, change something to make it worse. So we don't have a lot of insight into what is better, but the little bits we hear, I think it should help us, maybe even particularly here, there's some things that were better about this car and being able to work with it that looked more like when we had the Ford. So I'm optimistic, but we'll see. We won't know until we all go do it here shortly.
Always appreciate the time.
Thank you.
That's Travis Peterson practicing for tech here today. They'll do tech inspection after this practice session. Always good to hear from him, and a lot of confidence down here in the Michael McDowell camp.
Yeah, there is. Not going to practice here today. So, Todd, let's kind of dissect one of the phrases he used. He said, we don't want to go out and scuff our car up. What does he mean by scuffing the car up?
Well, as you look at the splitter in the front of these cars, it's kind of down on the sides, and then there's an opening in the middle that's kind of a trough to feed air down to the diffuser in the back. So there's a couple things that when you put these cars down, in order to have the minimum amount of drag, you want to shut down, you want the splitter to be as low as possible. In fact, you talked a little bit watching this, you can see the drivers bouncing around in the cars because the crew chiefs to qualify will put this car as low, they'll be on the shock stops, internal shock stops, basically 3 of the shocks will be bottomed out and riding around. Well, we call them lily pads, but the extensions of the splitter, the outer corners of it, there's a wearable plastic piece on it, and when you get that low going across the bumps, that may scuff the racetrack and then end up being kind of drug on it and drug on the asphalt. That roughs the surface of that up. And it's something that you don't want to have that adds a little bit of drag to it. The diffuser strakes may end up hitting and not sealing up to the point where they can be. That's all the pieces that could scuff up. And as he talks about this, that could be 1/100th of a second, 3/100ths of a second. It's just finding those little details, and that may be why they don't want it to jeopardize it. They feel like they know where they're at. Have that car that underbody be as clean as it can be to start out their qualifying attempt.
18 minutes and 30 seconds remain in this this practice session for the Daytona 500, leading us to Daytona 500 qualifying tonight. Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez are 1, 2, 3 atop the leaderboard. They had gotten in a little bit of a mini draft out there, so those numbers are a bit skewed. The driver behind them, Corey Heim, Jimmy Johnson, 4th and 5th on the leaderboard. They have been in single car runs. Chase Briscoe was 6th, with Eric Jones in 7th, Kyle Busch in 8th, Connor Zilic 9th, and Chris Buescher for RFK Racing round out the top 10.
We'll go ahead and run you down the rest of where the drivers have stacked up, those who have taken at least one lap on the racetrack. Josh Berry is currently 11th, Ryan Preece is 12th, John Hunter Nemechek is 13th, Tyler Reddick is 14th. Corey LaJoie trying to make the Daytona 500 for Roush Fenway Keselowski. He is currently 15th. Then it's Riley Herbst 16th. Carson Hocevar 17th. Christopher Bell is 18th. Ryan Blaney 19th. And Kyle Larson is 20th.
Austin Dillon's 21st. William Byron is 22nd. Chase Elliott is 23rd. Denny Hamlin's 24th. And Justin Allgaier is 25th. Remember, Justin Allgaier running a Junior Motorsports entry in their second Daytona 500. You got Ty Gibbs in 26th. A.J. Allmendinger's 27th. With Cole Custer 28th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 29th, and Cody Ware is 30th.
Alex Bowman 31st, Bubba Wallace 32nd, Joey Logano 33rd, Brad Keselowski 34th, Anthony Alfredo is 35th, Noah Gragson 36th, Shane Van Gisbergen is 37th, Zane Smith just getting his first lap of the day in. He'll go to 38th, equals his car number. BJ McLeod is 39th, Ty Dillon 40th, Chandler Smith 41st, and Casey Mears is 42nd.
Todd, this obviously is not the first time these cars have been in the garage, have been on the racetrack. We had the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray last weekend. Let's talk about muscle memory for these teams. A lot of these folks have not been at the racetrack since Phoenix of last year. There was that organizational test in the middle of January at North Wilkesboro. But by going through that test and by going to the Clash last weekend, does that take the rust off? Does that get that muscle memory back in play when you show up at Daytona, that everybody can hit the ground running?
It takes some of it off. It does. It gets you kind of back in the point to make sure the toolboxes are properly prepared and have all the pieces in it. But until you get to this position where you're having a practice, you're having a session like this, this is where you kind of start to build that rhythm. And it's 50 minutes, and it's kind of got some time in between. You're not fully rust off. You're back in the rhythm a little bit, but you've still got things that you learn in the application of this practice here on Wednesday.
Chase Briscoe just put down a heck of a lap by himself on the racetrack. Just went up to 7th on the leaderboard on what was his 13th lap here in this practice session. So a good solid lap for Briscoe.
With 2026 paying some points beginning tomorrow night in the dual races, and obviously in Sunday's season opening Daytona 500, there are some new driver crew chief pairings. Not as many as there have been in years past, but there are some new ones, and one of the more high-profile ones contains a NASCAR Cup Series and a NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series champion. Steve Post can connect those dots.
The Cup Series champion is Kyle Busch, a two-time champion in the NASCAR Cup Series. The Xfinity Series championship crew chief is Jim Pullman. Jim moved over from Junior Motorsports with Justin Allgaier. They won the championship back in 2023. And Jim taking the move over to Richard Childress Racing, actually back to Richard Childress Racing. Jim spent a fair part of his career before Junior Motorsports, so for him it was a return home. And for Kyle Busch, it's a new face, a new set of a new voice, and some new energy in this team. I had a chance to talk to both Kyle and to Jim, and they early in the process are absolutely loving what they see and what they hear from each other. That test session that they had in North Wilkesboro, the Clash, and really all the challenges of the Clash. That was they were dealt a lot of on-the-fly challenges for the Clash, and getting the chemistry, the back and forth together, and then hitting the ground here at this practice session in Daytona, which gets into the more tradition. The more you do it, you guys talked about that muscle memory. This is a little bit different muscle memory here. Kyle knows what he's doing. Jim knows what he's doing. Jim, with this new car, is relying on some of the other people at Richard Childress Racing to get his arms around this generation of race car. But this is a combination that's going to use this practice session. They're going to see what they learn into qualifying. And then really when we get into tomorrow night's dual race and then throughout the rest of Speed Weeks, they're hoping to get that chemistry, that language, that communication down so that it becomes muscle memory for those two as well, as they're a new combination here. Jim Pullman, crew chief, and Kyle Busch, driver for Richard Childress Racing.
Just some of the changes of the 2026 campaign that goes across, whether it's organizational changes with driver crew chief pairing or even the way we determine our champion. Going back to the chase format, 10 races to decide the champion here in 2026.
Watching another little mini draft on the racetrack with Corey LaJoie and Bubba Wallace. Eric Jones was a part of that, but he bailed out about a half a lap ago. That LaJoie-Wallace tandem, 3rd and 4th overall as we wind our way to conclusion for this first practice for the Daytona 500. From Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You've never been one to idly watch someone else do something for you. There's pride in self-reliance, in working with your hands, in harnessing the power of an E3 spark plug with Diamond Fire technology yielding better engine performance. You have a choice to make. Take control of your ride, of your life, or be the passenger princess of it. Visit e3sparkplugs.com to put the power in your hands.
Jeff Gordon wins the Daytona 500.
Jeff Gordon's rise to one of NASCAR's all-time greatest drivers was one like no other. Relive Jeff Gordon's journey to the NASCAR Hall of Fame with the exclusive MRN podcast, Jeff Gordon, A Colorful Career. 93 Cup Series wins, 4 Cup Series championships, and 3 Daytona 500 wins. A career rivaled by few others. Check out MRN's Jeff Gordon, A Colorful Career on podcast platforms and MRN.com.
Back at Daytona, 12 minutes remaining in practice number 1 for the Daytona 500. Austin Cindric, number 1 on the leaderboard. We talk about the season opening cookout clash at Bowman Gray Stadium last weekend. Ryan Preece was celebrating as the winner, and right now Ryan just crossed the start-finish line. Let's get an update on the first race winner of 2026.
And he hasn't stopped, Mike, since that race win last Wednesday night at Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It has been a week, and Ryan Preece definitely making the best of Speed Weeks here in Florida. Drove immediately down to New Smyrna Speedway following his win at the Clash on Wednesday. Practiced a super late model most of the day last Thursday. Raced it to a 6th place run on Friday night, which kicked off the race week at New Smyrna Speedway about 9 or 10 miles from here at Daytona International Speedway. Bounced back on Saturday. Raced in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour season opener, a 7th place effort there. Took Sunday off, not quite sure sure what he did. I'm sure he worked on his modified that he raced on Monday night to finish 4th and picked up the Tour Type modified win last night. So it has been busy for Ryan Preece, and was one of the first in the NASCAR Cup Series garage here this morning to jump in this Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing Ford and look for yet another win, his first points-paying win here in the NASCAR Cup Series. But a lot of momentum for Ryan right now after picking up that win last Wednesday night at Winston-Salem and continuing that success throughout the week at the New Smyrna Speedway just up the road here from the big track.
Yeah, Kyle, you and I were out at New Smyrna Speedway last night talking to Ryan, and he's got a different air about him, doesn't he, Kyle? When we had a chance to visit with him, you've been out there at the short track all week, but talking to him last night, he just has a different vibe about him after that big win at the Cookout Clash.
He does. The last couple of years, especially early in the season after flipping the car last year in the Daytona 500, little bit defeated when we would talk to him throughout the season, but he is definitely a renewed and rejuvenated Ryan Preece. A lot of energy last night, was excited to be down here, and no doubt that win last Wednesday went a long way. Very consistent team last year, especially when they got into the mid-stretch of the summer. Ryan Preece was always there around 10th to 15th. Excited about the new championship format. Feels really comfortable that they can make the chase later this summer. So off to a good start. We'll see if that momentum continues here at Daytona.
It's great, but while he's been racing at the short track, especially yesterday, his wife Heather took his daughter Rebecca over to Disney World yesterday. And if you think, well, wait a minute, why didn't Ryan go? Heather understands. Heather and Ryan met at Stafford Motor Speedway back in 2009, so she understands the racing side of it. She took daughter over to Disney World yesterday. Ryan stayed and won the modified race last night.
They all got what they wanted.
Yeah.
As you look at it, and what a great racer, what a great situation. Drove through the night, went home. Anybody wins a Clash, you would think you'd celebrate that. He was focused on what the next thing was I need to get down there and practice my super late models. So really love the racer that Ryan is and what he's come forward. I love to see him have a little success.
8.5 minutes remain in this one practice for the day. Don't forget, at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time on the stream at MRN.com, we will have coverage nonstop of Daytona 500 Media Day. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, we'll be back with you for NASCAR Cup Series pole qualifying for the Daytona 500. From Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
The Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Green flag goes in the air. The Daytona 500 is underway.
From Daytona to Homestead, catch all the exciting side-by-side passes for the lead of the NASCAR Cup Series.
Spectacular racing, round and round and round they go. Everybody 3 wide from front to back.
We are the voice of NASCAR.
Brad Keselowski up off of the corner. Ryan Blaney with a charge. Checkered flag is out. Ryan Blaney wins.
The Motor Racing Network.
NASCAR fans, get ready to feel the rush. The official NASCAR Tracks app is your ultimate race day companion. From managing your event tickets to navigating with wayfinding maps, event schedules, and facility info, it's got everything you need to make your experience unforgettable.
Ready, green flag, green
Bring
flag.
your headphones and dive into the action like never before with live scanner access.
Got a race to win, my man.
Listen in on driver and team communications at select NASCAR Tracks. Download NASCAR Tracks now on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
Practice winding down here. 6.5 minutes to go in this practice here today. Mostly single car runs, but Mike, a couple of drafts early on in the practice, and that's where the top of the leaderboard sits.
Yeah, Austin Cindric's been in one, so is Ross Chastain, Corey LaJoie, Bubba Wallace, Daniel Suarez. Good to see Alex Bowman now in the top 10. He's 6th. Eric Jones, Corey Heim, Kyle Larson, Jimmy Johnson rounding out the top 10. Got a handful of cars sitting on pit road, basically waiting for an open spot on the racetrack. Denny Hamlin is waiting to go out. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Josh Berry, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, and Cole Custer. Don't know if they're going to have the time they need. We've only got 6 minutes and 20 seconds left.
And Denny Hamlin, if you're interested, has only run 5 laps in practice so far, and he is 30th on the leaderboard. His Joe Gibbs Racing teammate, Ty Gibbs, is 31st as well. But they're not the only ones on that page, if you will. Joey Logano's on that side, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Brad Keselowski, Shane Van Gisbergen, And fact of the matter is, Todd, we don't exactly know what everybody's agenda for practice has been.
If you actually got clean single car laps, you're going to be on the right side of the board. When we say the right side of the board, in the 30s, because this is so sensitive to any bit. And you look at it, if you can be within 3, 4, 5 seconds of car, and it still looks like from the visual eye, it's going to be like half of the front, the front short chute. You're getting a pull, you're going to be faster. So all these cars on the left side, their fast lap may have had a little bit of help. The good cars on the right side, they've gotten actually good clean laps.
Sunday's Daytona 500 will be the 8th 500 run on February 15th. 6 of the ones prior have been heard on Motor Racing Network, and we put together something pretty special. We dropped it Monday night. It's called NASCAR Live Presents A Date with Daytona. You can get this wherever you download your podcast. Subscribe to NASCAR Live. The ones that are included are some pretty high-profile 500s. 1976. Who forget, or who can't remember, or who can't forget, I should say. I'll get it right sometime. Richard Petty and David Pearson crashing, coming to the start-finish line. 1981, the King winning his 7th 500. 1987, Bill Elliott winning his 2nd 500. 1998, Dale Earnhardt winning his only 500. Dale Earnhardt Jr. winning in 2004. And in 2009, Matt Kenseth winning his first Daytona 500. Again, go to wherever you download your podcast. Subscribe to NASCAR Live. NASCAR Live presents A Date with Daytona. It's a fun listen and an awesome trip down memory lane.
Spectacular. Well done by our team here at MRN. You mentioned the 1976 Daytona 500. And another snapshot of just how far this sport has come. If you remember, coming to the checkered flag when Pearson and Petty wrecked, end up down in what we call the ball field between pit road and the hot racetrack. Crew members were running out to try to push those race cars to get them going to the finish line. Can you imagine now if crew members under green conditions were running out to the grass to push a car?
Fun fact, Benny Parsons almost had to take the white flag twice, because when those two tangled, they were the only 2 cars that were on the lead lap. But it was David Pearson and that legendary call from Ken Squire, with David Pearson and the Wood Brothers winning the Daytona 500. A gentleman trying to win his first 500 is Alba, Florida's Ross Chastain. He's with Trackhouse Racing in 2026. That car has showed speed as well. We'll see what Ross Chastain has. Let's go to the garage.
Yeah, Mike, actually catching up with Ross here. Ross, what'd you learn about your car and what'd you learn about your new crew chief here? How important is the chemistry between the two of you as well?
Yeah, Postman, Brandon McSwain, I've known him for more than a decade, and it's so cool to hear him on the radio, actually working together now. It's been a long time coming to do this, and the Busch Light Chevy feels about as good as could be expected. I think we're in the ballpark to qualify decent, and we just made 2 runs, and we're done. I'll let the Trackhouse boys go to work and get ready for qualifying.
Well, we wish you well. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks.
There we go. Ross Chastain down here has climbed out of his race car, getting ready to do a little media day coverage, and we'll be there with Motor Racing Network all afternoon long, and Ross will be one that we will get a chance to catch up to.
Trackhouse, a 3-car effort this season, full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series. Ross Chastain, of course, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Rookie of the Year contender Connor Zilisch. We know the celebration in Victory Lane with Ross Chastain, where he does the watermelon smash. We know the celebration for Shane Van Gisbergen, where he autographs a rugby ball and punts it into the grandstand. What will Connor Zilisch's celebration be to continue that trend? We'll find out if and when he gets to Victory Lane. Back to the garage and Kyle Rickey.
All right, let's talk to Corey Heim down here in the garage. He is out of the car and one of the fastest on single car speed right now. How happy are you with your car after this brief session?
Yeah, as far as handling goes and everything, I feel pretty good about it, but just so many cars out there, it's kind of hard to tell who, got drafted and who didn't type deal. So I feel pretty confident in the handling side of it. I mean, it's my first time in a Cup car at a Speedway. It's certainly on the rough side, but kind of come to realize that when I started studying on it. So I feel good about it. Everyone on our 67 Roboted Camry has done a great job so far with 2311 Racing and Toyota. So looking forward to it. Qualifying should be interesting. Like I said, not really kind of sure where we wrap up yet, but looking forward to finding out.
Good luck here later tonight.
Thank you.
That's Corey Heim, currently 8th on the leaderboard as we get set, we wind down this first practice session for the Daytona 500.
From Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Love NASCAR? Subscribe, listen, and download Motor Racing Network's exclusive podcast series. MRN presents Jeff Gordon, A Colorful Career, The Rise of Dale Earnhardt Jr. on Junior's Journey. Get to know Jack Roush on the many hats of Jack Roush. Meet the King on Richard Petty's Road to Royalty. Dig deep into one of NASCAR's most memorable years, the 1993 season. Motor Racing Network exclusive podcast, available on MRN.com or any audio podcast platform.
NASCAR history.
Petty wins his 200th career NASCAR victory.
Told by the people who made that history.
President Reagan was there. He got us on the front page, and we got him in the sports page. It was a good trade-off from that standpoint.
Motor Racing Network's NASCAR Live presents podcast The Road to Royalty. Jeff Gordon, A Colorful Career, 50 years of MRN, the 1993 season, Junior's Journey, and more. Search for NASCAR Live on your favorite podcast platform.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Red and black flags are flying atop the starter stand, indicating that practice one for the Daytona 500 is in the books. And it's Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain, Corey LaJoie, Bubba Wallace, and Daniel Suarez, the Fast Five. Alex Bowman was sixth. Also, Eric Jones was seventh. Corey Heim was eighth. Kyle Larson ninth. And Jimmy Johnson were the 10 fastest cars.
The rest of the top 20 would be John Hunter Nemechek 11th, Kyle Busch 12th, Chase Briscoe 13th, Austin Dillon 14th, Riley Herbst was 15th, Ty Dillon 16th, Connor Zilic 17th, Chris Buescher 18th, Justin Allgaier 19th, and Chase Elliott 20th.
Josh Berry was 21st, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was 22nd, Denny Hamlin was 23rd, with Ryan Preece 24th, and Cole Custer 25th. Anthony Alfredo was 26th, with Tyler Reddick in 27th, Brad Keselowski 28th, Carson Hocevar was 29th, and Christopher Bell was 30th.
31st, Ryan Blaney, 32nd, Joey Logano, and 33rd, Cody Ware. 34th, William Byron, 35th, Chandler Smith. Ty Gibbs was 36th, A.J. Allmendinger 37th, Shane Van Gisbergen 38th, Noah Gragson 39th, Zane Smith was 40th, B.J. McLeod 41st, Casey Mears 42nd, and J.J. Yaley 43rd.
We invite you to join us at 11:45 a.m. Eastern this morning on MRN.com. You will hear from every single one of those drivers over the course of the noon and afternoon hours. We'll be with you from Media Day all the way up through around the 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern Time hour. Then we'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where everybody will qualify for the Daytona 500. For Steve Post and Kyle Rickey in the garage, for Todd Gordon and Alex Hayden here in the broadcast booth, I'm Mike Bagley. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday morning. Our coverage from Daytona will continue at 11:45 a.m. Eastern on MRN.com. Until then, so long, everybody.
Thank you to MRN, the Motor Racing Network, for their coverage of Practice 1 for the NASCAR Cup Series here at Daytona. We are back from 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. GMT with qualifying for the Great American Race. See you then.